Hello everybody, it's Donna here from Purple Pinky Promises, and I have this fun little interactive card to bring to you today, featuring the inside of which Santa's little hand is dunking a cookie in milk. So we're just going to jump right in here and show you all of the products that I used for this project. And we're going to start out with a cup of kindness. I use one stamp and one die from this set. I also am using the tree topper dies and stamps, of which most of the card comes from. I'm also showing you the papers, the pattern papers, and the cardstock. We're going to start out with Gingerbread Village from Honeybee Stamps. Cute little fun vintage whimsical papers, and here are some coordinating gem stickers that I will be using, and you'll see that later on in the project. I'm using crimson 12x12 cardstock from American Crafts, and the cardstock that I'm using from Concord 9th would be Juniper, and a neutrals pack featuring Almond and Sand. And I'm also using a 12x12 pack of Rainbow Bazzill Holographic paper, Rainforest cardstock, and Ballet slipper from Concord and 9th. I'm also using some Lunar paste here. This is Simon Hurley in Minty Fresh, and some Ranger Distress Rock Candy. Also a snow marker, and some Catherine Pooler Rockin' Red ink. I've got all my stuff pre-die cut, ready to go. And we're going to start off by making this little cookie. I'm also going to show you, as I go along, where the dies come from. As you can see here, I'm just dipping my finger in instead of using any kind of tools, because I feel like it gives it a little bit more of a realistic look of being iced. And because I am putting on a thin layer, I do have to go back over it a couple more times, because when you put on a thin layer, this stuff does kind of dry fast. So you'll watch me do that. I'm going to jump ahead and talk to you about the rock candy. I do put that on while it is still tacky from the Lunar paste. And I go back in later after it's dried, and I use some glue. And I put on another layer. And the reason I do that is because it kind of, when it dries, it blends in, and I wanted that white sugary look to the top of the cookie. I wanted it to be a little more realistic. I also, just to point out, didn't go all the way to the ends of those stars because I wanted it to look like a real iced cookie. Yeah. All right. And this here, I'm showing you where the hand and cookie comes from, and also the sleeve. So we're going to put those two together, and we're going to start building up Santa's arm and cookie, hand and cookie, or actually Santa's sleeve, more accurately his sleeve. Now, we're going to embark on the cuff of his sleeve here. And I just took a piece of scratch paper, chopped it off, and basically laid it over it to determine how much I needed. I just went slightly over the edges of Santa's wrist. And just a piece of advice, it is best for you to not adhere this before you put the snow marker on. And you'll see why. I over pumped that. We got too much on there, and I should have removed this because it actually didn't. I mean, I showed you this whole process so that you could learn from my mistake, that don't get too much on there. If you do, kind of sop it up and remove it, because what I was left with was an outer skin, and it was still wet on the inside. And eventually it popped and went everywhere, and I had to kind of do some repairs to Santa's sleeve and hand. So, yes. And it also didn't give me the look I was trying to go for. I wanted it to be I wanted it to look fluffy, and I just kept getting that puff there that I didn't want. So as you can see, I eventually pierced it, and I wished I had pierced it right at that moment, but I went ahead and put it on, thinking I can kind of scrunch it up and do whatever to it later. Alas, nope. It went everywhere. See? Boom. Poof. All over the sleeve. That stuff doesn't come up. I tried to get it off with a sand eraser. It didn't work, so I had to actually go back in and die cut it again, the sleeve, and trim it and put it on there. I did try this sand eraser with the hand. It's still kind of there a little bit. You can't really tell too much. Okay, here's where I go back with glue, and I just spread it out so it's not globbed on there. And I put some more of that rock candy on there. And it does give me more of a sugared look with a little bit of frosting in the background. And that's what I was trying to achieve. I really like that. It's more homemade and realistic. Not all of us bake like the bakery. Okay, now I'm going to the inside of my card, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And a word of warning here, I got very lucky. I am taping this because I wanted it to be flat when I stamped it. But just a word of warning. You really need to pay attention first to where the inside elements are going to fall before you stamp. I just went in willy-nilly and stamped. And truth be told, I got very lucky. This could have ended up being covered up by my little middle panel, which is actually masking the mechanism for the hand that drops. So I also had just inked my pad, and it was a little on the saturated side. So it does lighten up. It looks very dark at first, but it does lighten up. I did ink it, but it wasn't the worst inking I'd ever done on my ink pad, but it might have been just slightly too much. All right, next, I am going to go ahead and start working on the panels for my cardstock. And the first Juniper layer, it measures just shy of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So essentially that's going to be 4 1/4, or not 4 1/4, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then the next panel is going to be just shy of 4 5 1/4, which is 5 1/8 and 3 7/8. Okay, this strip is actually a die. I just showed you that you die cut this, and if you noticed at the very beginning, both panels on the outside and the inside measure the same. So going back to that strip of paper, if you noticed at the beginning of this video, I showed you a picture of the card. So we're going to be honest here. This card started out as a fail on live. I deleted it and I redid this video. And when I originally made the card, the strip was just a white panel with with a white sentiment fussy cut and placed on that panel. But this time I decided I wanted to try some more patterns on the inside just to add some more interest. I thought it would be fun. So I die cut it out of this same honeybee pack, the Gingerbread Village pack, in this cute little striped pattern. All right, now we're going to the die cuts, which I've already put together. These are also from the Tree Topper die set. And what a fun, oh my goodness, what a fun pack of dies. Essentially, Like I said, 98% of these dies are from that Tree Topper die set, and sentiments are from the Tree Topper stamp set. I love how the stamps have a starter sentiment and a finishing sentiment on the inside to kind of lead you that direction. Okay, this is what I'm showing you here is the die that you can get multiple cuts at the same time to kind of save you your time with die cutting all of these out. So this is a full strip, but what I do here is I actually cut out and cut off some of these strips from the other piece and share it between the two ornaments, if that makes any sense. And I'll show that here in a second. I did die cut some of these instead of out of the holographic. I did some in the ballet slipper as well to kind of contrast and just to add a little bit more of an interest on these ornaments. So now I show you exactly what I'm doing. And do you see that little strip of paper behind there? That's how I was able to inlay the snowflake. I glued it down first, the little strip of white cardstock, and then the snowflake could adhere to the and inlay into the ornament. All right, so here's that piece of string. I cut off the holographic bow, and now I'm just sharing it between the two ornaments on the left and the right. And of course, trying to hold it in my hand didn't work. Needed to lay it down and give it some stability. So here's where I trim it. And this is where it's going to go on the other ornament on the right. Same process. All righty. Now we're ready to build up the inside portion, which is the mechanism and the Santa hand that dips in the cookie. The original live, if you can tell by the picture at the beginning, the original live had dimension on the inside. And this mechanism creates a the hand actually comes down and it's pretty high. So I needed to create a workaround. The dimension on the inside just didn't work. So right here, what I'm showing you is that when you die cut this from the die pack, it actually has all the score lines that you need, and it tells you exactly where you place your glue. It's pretty flawless as far as putting it together, except for when you can't think of the step-by-step instructions on how to put it together, which is what happened to me on live, which is why I ended up coming back here to create this video. So I'm just working with it because those little score lines need to fold inward, and you're going to put them together. I'm going to show you again what I did here. So folded them inward. I'm showing you that now, showing you that that's the middle score, and you're going to squeeze it together. And now you have a spot on the back where you put your glue after you fold it. And that left front piece goes right to your score line on the inside, and you press that down, making sure that it's adhered. Be patient if you're using glue. Let it, hold on to it and let it dry. All right, so as you can see, those little triangles line up on the inside. You're going to put glue only where it says glue. You're going to place it exactly how that triangle fits there for the tip of that arm, and hold it down really good. Make sure it's good and dry. Art glue dries fairly quickly, so yeah. Okay. Some of this cardstock is really thick, so I kind of had to be a little bit patient with that drying process. When you're also adhering a smooth to a texture, it takes a little bit more. All right, so placing glue only where it says to put glue. And I'm just kind of getting some excess off. Folding this over, holding on to it for quite some time so it will stay, because this is your moving part. You want to make sure you hold that. And here I am, basically just shaping my sleeve the way I wanted it to look. Yay! Voila! We have a moving mechanism. I must have gone too far or something like that, but it's fine. It ended up being okay. So there we go. Yay. Next, you're going to fold on the score lines. You're going to fold away from you. And you're going to create kind of a square. But you actually, when you're getting ready to put this together, you need to create a little gatefold on the right and the left. And that middle score line is going to line up with the inside of your cardstock. So your score lines actually line up right down the middle. So again, I'll show you again here in a minute. It's like creating a gatefold, and that gatefold goes downward, and your score line comes right down the middle, lining up exactly with the score line at the center of your card. I am shaping this just a little bit so it will kind of move down, like it won't be so high up. I'm shaping this before I put the panel on. It makes it a whole lot easier if you shape this and kind of just bend it slightly so that your cookie goes downward. And I do have one more mechanism to put in. Again, folding away and making sure that you get those evenly folded, and the center fold, showing you that this is all you die cut all of these out at once, and it does actually tell you, it says glue. I love that. It tells you where to glue. That's pretty cool. Okay, gatefold goes downward, and you line up the center with the center of your card base, this score line in the middle, and then you glue this on. And it's pretty easy. See how I got lucky with the sentiment? Yeah, beware of that. Now, you can't stamp this directly to your cardstock after you've put this mechanism in. It's impossible. So you do need to stamp it before you do all of this work. Unless you have a bigger stamping platform, then you could do it after all of this. So, which is probably a good shout out right now to that Alt New Stamp Wheel 2.0, which we will have coming to the shop at some point in the near future. Now we're putting glue only on the left side, not on the right side, just on the left there, all the way down on each one of those pieces. And we're going to line up this strip at the top and the bottom, and making sure it lines up flush on the left with the mechanism. You don't want anything to show on the left or the right. And there it is, perfection. It's covering it all up. And you don't want it to go too far up and too far down. So there we are. Now we have so far we have a flat mailing piece of a flat mailing card. And I am going to show you the workaround here fairly soon. That'll be towards the end. I'm going to show you the workaround to having dimension on the inside. Instead of having dimension, we're going to create a little spring with cardstock so that it will fold or lay flat. And that's coming here soon. But first I'm going to stamp my cup and my outside sentiment. There's also a little difference on the outside of the card that I showed you. This was the card that you see at the beginning was the original card that I had created live. This one I'm going to do just a little bit differently for the sentiment. I'm actually not going to fussy cut around it. This time I'm just going to create a square frame around it and another square, or rather more of a rectangle, not a square, a rectangle, and layer that up. You'll see what I mean. Giving it another go. This will lighten up. Voila. Done. Yay. And I did hand cut my sentiment. And the reason I did was because I didn't get it very straight on the cardstock. So I just went ahead and hand cut it. It's not perfect, but it's homemade. So I basically glue this down and cut it out from the trimmer. And you'll see me just trimming off edges to make it look nice around the edge and framing the sentiment nicely. I do like this a little bit better than the look that I originally had. So now we're going to create this Christmas tree. I die cut the die twice to create two pieces here, and I'm just trimming off these limbs so that they actually create a more of a seamless look between the two, I would say, so that we have a gradual increase in size, sort of. That's what I was going for. The star is cut out of that same rainbow holographic paper from Bazzill. And I'm going to double up my dimension, foam dimension on the back, because this is a thinner layer of foam dimension. I love the option of having a thinner layer versus a thicker layer. So there we have it. Now we are ready to put the sentiment on, and there we go. I'm going to get these gem stickers on, and you'll notice that as I put these gem stickers on, I do put glue down first. This is a personal preference of mine. The gems do stick, so do not misunderstand me here. The gems work. It's the fact that we live in a more humid climate here, and things can fall off a little easier because of that. So I like to reinforce these with a little bit of glue. If your climate is a little more humid, you might consider putting down some glue. It also kind of helps with placement to kind of see ahead of time where things are going to fall. So it's kind of got a dual purpose there. And there we go. Of course, you know, I'm looking it over thinking, it needs more. If you have 15, why not add 20? More is better, right? The saying of less is more is never true with bling, is it? Maybe you differ in your opinion. You could over bling something, but on a Christmas tree with lots of lights, I'm not so sure. Anyway, yes, I decided to stop there. Okay, now we're going to put that cup on the inside. Die cut this. And then we're going to pop this on the inside of the card. And I'm showing you here the measurements. My piece of cardstock is 3/4 by 2 inches. I believe that's what it said. If that's not what it said, go back and double check that. Freeze the frame. And you're just going to very slightly overlap these two. Very, very slightly. You're going to create a gatefold. kind of like a spring. So you also need to score this at every 1/2 inch. So scoring, so 2 sheets, measuring 3/4 by 2 inches and scoring it at every 1/2 inch. And now I'm putting my glue on the back, and I'm just placing it on the back of that cup where it won't show. So I don't want it to stick out the sides. I want it to stay on the back without coming over the sides, as you can see there. And I also have those folded edges on the outside just because it looks better. And there we have it. Now we have a little place for our cookie to go right inside, and it will spring when the card opens. And there's plenty of room for that cookie to move inside. So I'm going to do the same thing here, except for no overlapping. I am essentially just wanting it to lay down side by side, no overlapping, after I place the glue on it. So I'm basically eyeing where it needs to go, taking a look. Where does this cup need to fall? And there we are. It needs to lay side by side, just like that. So when I do press it down, it will go down side by side, just to let you know. Opening or closing it just a slight bit to help it move so that I can place it down. And with glue, you can actually move it a little if it needs to. And there we have it. Our cookie dips inside the cup, folks. Yippee! There we have it. And you may have to train it, kind of bend it down a little bit, and work with your cup to kind of spring a little bit better. But there it is. Woohoo! I love it. I really appreciate you guys stopping by today to watch this project. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you can get notified every time I post a project or I go live. And here I am giving you just a final look at this card and how this works. But what better than Santa dipping his cookie in that milk that you leave him at Christmas? Yes. All right, folks. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day and week, and thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.